Okay. I'll call the meeting to order at 6:09 p.m.
Okay.
Did everyone, Dan, did you have a chance to look at the spreadsheet that Joe? All right,
Yep,
so
I have it here.
All
I
right.
got a couple of questions, but everybody I'm sure does, so go ahead.
Okay. If there's a way to raise your hand and Phil will be able to see if you have a question, but Dan, if you want to make a comment, you can just, if there's a space, just talk up. I'm sure it'll be fine.
I'll speak up. Yeah, sure.
Not too many of us.
Okay.
All right, Joe, you want to go with the changes you made, with the stuff you eliminated, or what you need?
Yeah, sure. So
Frank, can I jump in and say one thing first?
Yeah.
First of all, I appreciate everything that you're all doing. I know it was tough to get to the little over 2 million, and now we got a curveball thrown to us to get down to even lower. My plan is, so you can see the big plan of this, is that if, however things pan out, is to take this in, a phase 1 approach, and then come back in hopefully in November with, the rest or a portion of the rest in phase 2, however we do it. So that's my thought process now. Just planning for contingencies with the fact that our local aid will be down, our local receipts will be down. State aid, I'm counting on a 10% reduction, which is about $1 million. And then I don't know about new growth, because we've been doing really well with new growth, new taxation. And big part of that was the power line. How much of that will be taxed this year? So that might be a little bit more being next year than this year. So that's kind of why, those 3 items is why we're here. And I'm done.
All right, thanks. Go ahead, Joe, if you want to go quick.
So I'll basically just kind of run through it line by line for now. Starting in the top where we have the prior year leases. So the $41,000 for the fire alarm vehicle that was purchased, and then the $261,000 of previously existing leases. Those are all contracts that we're in. So those payments have to stay because we're going to have to make those this fiscal year. If you bump down into the fleet section, the utility mower, the John Deere mower, that we approved. I talked to Dennis. He could get through the rest of this year with it and plan for the future. I talked to our building superintendent, the same thing with the Ford utility van there. One of the things that I did ask to keep in here was the replacement of the skid steer loader. The only reason for that is it's something that we want to be able to get and acquire before winter. As you remember, we can't get a front door for it now, so it's kind of become a 2.5 season machine. Moving on with that, on line 19, truck 30, which is a plow and a sander. These vehicles, from when we order them, take about a year to come in. In order for us to order it, I have to send a copy that Betsy is notarized at the town clerk's office that town meeting has approved the funding. This is replacing a truck that's starting to show its age and with the salt and everything like that. If you remember when we were talking about this earlier in the year, we had one last year where we had a frame crack. This one's heading in that direction. So I kept this in this to get rid of it before it becomes a complete lemon. The next line down, the international crane, and talking, this is one that we can get through until we have to get through, and it chopped $55,000 off the appropriation for right now. The mobile work trailer, that's another one that's kind of winter centric for us. That's so, the buildings guys can load their winter supplies in it, take it to place. And then also, if we could get back into the schools, this is basically their tool shed on wheels. So they don't have to bring their tools in and out of town hall or wherever they have them stored throughout town to and from the job every day. Next line down is a sidewalk machine. That's another one that we're looking to acquire before the winter time. As far as the police cruisers, this would be a decision on the group. I know that, there's been questioned, do you fund 2? Do we fund 3? What do we fund? 2 has been thrown in there as a placeholder for now. That would be obviously a decision up to, further discussion. If we move into the building section of this, this is basically all of the conversation I had with our building superintendent. So we've consciously delayed the conference room upgrades, the carpet at Town Hall, the ceilings at 5 Common, which is the building next to Town Hall. One thing we did keep in was phase 2 of the windows at 5 Common. We'd like to replace those before the winter and the cold, before we start paying more heating. On 11 Lafayette Street, the fire escape stairs, that's a means of egress in and out of the building for IT. So we'd like to be able to replace those this summer and get that to a point where they're safe. So that was included in for this round, as suggested for this round, including the doors that directly abut those. Council on Aging flooring is something that we could delay. Basically what we did is we triaged the whole list and said, what do we need right now and what do we need shortly thereafter? So that was kind of the mindset to this whole thing. The Greenwood Fire Station boiler, if you remember, we don't have an exact date on when that was installed, but it's late 1970s, early 80s vintage, and it's the only boiler that fires that school and the post-school out back. We talked about some flooring in the DPW that we could go without for right now. Fencing at the nursery we can make do. The carpeting at the library was also a suggestion to potentially pause until the fall, as well as the investigation of the front stairs to figure out if there is something underneath it that's not suitable to support the stairs or not. Some of the next ones are the high school ceilings. We put off until the next round. The doors at the high school would be the next round. High school flooring and abatement would be the next round. Going on from that, you'll start to see in column G, Bob Shiroli gave me a prioritization list, and he kind of ranked some of the things that he wanted to see, or the school department rather, wanted to see accomplished. Given the COVID-19 situation, everything that's going on, the faucet and flushometers was high up on their ranking. It probably wouldn't be wise of us to delay a sanitary function that, you know, clearly needs some repair. The Dahlberg hot water heater, we've actually zeroed that out for now. I'm gonna try to do that out of operating money. The same thing with the walk-in refrigerator. If you keep on moving through the list, and feel free if anybody wants to stop me as I go. The Ewell School, the final phase of the windows, that's something that we don't have any security issues. It's just getting the Lexan plastic out. That's something we could push. What we did keep in was the flooring and the abatement. If you remember when we talked earlier, that's probably the worst condition friable asbestos floor that we have to take care of. That one is included because it's more of a safety issue. And then next down the list is the air compressor for the Dahlberg. If you remember, it's a system of 2 compressors per, and both schools are technically running only on one. There's no redundancy in the systems. That was included in the event that the kids do get to go back on time and we get a heat wave in September. I would hate to have the HVAC compressor go and have some cooling issues with that. I think that the school department was a little bit modest in their ranking. I think it's obviously because there could be some sticker shock with some people, but it's something that's very much needed this time around. So that's why it's included in this first kind of breakdown. Our cremation garden, we've phased out for right now. We can wait. The patching program, which is something that's important to us and a priority to us, what we did was we funded that at 50%. So if, you know, the economy is in a good state come November town meeting, we'd have phase 1 that we'd do over the summer, and then we'd pick up in phase 2 sometime in the spring. The Woodville playground was pushed to phase 2 right now, mainly being that the structure itself is in decent shape, although it is old. But it was a high number to remove out of this, and became more of a luxury ask than a necessity. The food warmers is the same thing. It's on the back half of the school's priorities. The same thing with the attendance software. Interesting to note, the water bubblers with the auto feed, they have that in here. Our business manager actually got a grant for 3 of these. So as long as I believe it's the state, can come through with the funds, we should get these, or at least 3 out of the 5 I think that they were looking for originally, for next to nothing. We just have to front some of the labor to install it, which we were planning on doing anyway. So that made that an easy case to push until the next time capital gets brought up again. The fire department, this was their only ask. The portables, I don't think where Chief Sullivan was saying it's a safety issue for him and his guys. It doesn't make sense to try to do this in phases or break this out any other way. They did ask for a few things, and this is the only thing that got into the initial plan. So that remained the same. Next line down, the GIS application development. If you remember, this is something that DPW and the assessor's office was sharing as a joint initiative to get us up to speed and kind of enhance some of the tools that we use. By funding this at 50%, if we go to phase 1, that would give us enough to get going, to get some of the things that we need accomplished. And then in phase 2, we would finish the rest of that. It would basically become two seasons, if you would, for work is concerned. I'm actually going to skip over the IT section for a second because Todd was nice enough to join us, because I'm sure there's going to be wireless access point questions related. So I'll just jump into sewer really quick. Even from the very beginning, this capital request is pretty modest. We're replacing 1 vehicle split between the 2 enterprises. We always have been including some system improvements for the 50,000. Remember, we're going to rebuild our high velocity truck and deter from spending the $500,000 to replace it for the time being. So the rate structure for the enterprises should be able to support that. So I would leave that intact. The same thing with water, which is just the other half of the vehicle and then $1,000 in water system improvements. So that in a nutshell. Todd, I don't know if you want to jump in. So the wireless access points was number 1 for the school department. I know there's a whole bunch with licensing and things like that. You could probably add better detail than I can at this point, though, related to that.
Sure. So to start, the which number do you have for that? I see 310.
It's 217.
217.
Yeah, hang on. That was the
17059.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
But in here it's 310. The original ask is 310,250.
Yeah, for the purpose for this first draft, that was zeroed out. Hold on.
Yep. It's
Right.
not part of the million.
Yeah. So the number that I have is 211 for the equipment and 20,000 for the cabling. So 231 was the last number that we got. And I think what we could do is we could push so the cabling is if they need to expand, if the existing coverage isn't there based on this 1-to-1 replacement. I would think that the limited cabling, maybe we could do that in-house. If you want to push 20,000 to the second phase, we could see if we even needed it by then.
Make it 221.
Make it 211.
211, I mean, sorry.
Yeah.
This 1 million doesn't include anything, right? This is zeroed out. So this 1,003,560 doesn't include any money for wireless access points.
Correct.
So we added in 211,000. It brings us to, how close to half do we need to make this, Steve? Do you really need us to be at $1 million?
Yes.
Okay, so we're 200,000. We're 214,000 more than we need to be.
Yeah, there's a couple of things along the way that we could look at again.
Right.
So,
The
so
number,
we would put the wireless back at 211. Is that the suggestion here? So we're taking basically 100,000 off of it.
Right.
Okay.
Joe, I don't see the town request in there.
The Munis one.
Yeah, the ESS, I was gonna say, we could push that to phase 2.
So that was
We approved
actually,
that?
that was actually not voted in by the group.
Okay,
So the last time the vote came in, that wasn't part of the plan that was headed to town meeting.
okay.
You know what? Actually, the last meeting we had set this wireless access already at 217.
217,059 was the number that was voted on.
Yeah, that was the number we voted on. So we're only actually knocking off $6,000. Is that right? Do I understand this correctly?
217, well,
Uh,
total 231. It sounds like it's actually 14,000 more than what we originally.
Yeah,
approved.
okay.
But now
Yeah, right.
so that 14,000 was the credit they were gonna give us. So let me double check that 211.
So are you saying right here in the IT section and column E that's zeroed out now, is this column E reflecting what our final vote was?
No, that should be 217,059.
Weren't we supposed to get a $70,000 credit though on top of that? Not we. That wasn't including any credit.
No, 70,000 would be probably the E-rate.
Oh, okay. And then the credit was based on the 70,000?
There was a $14,000 credit we got because we told the vendor, we're leaving licenses on the table.
Okay.
If you can make up the difference of that, we could go forward.
Either way, though, yeah, that'll be applied in the future, so.
Just wondering what we're missing, because we approved, I think our final number was 2,018,119 was after our last meeting. But even adding that 217 back in, we're only at 1.941. So I think something is,
Yeah, keep going up. So the hot
oh,
water.
it's these
heater-
two. Yeah,
Yeah, there's a bunch of other numbers in here that
Got it.
zeroed out.
it's these hot, that's right. You said you were going to pay these auto operating, the hot water heater, fridge.
Yeah, and then the
And then
55,000 was the crane.
the crane.
Yeah.
Got it.
Sorry, this was the notes as we were running through this morning.
Okay.
Joe, who's going over who looked at the wireless handhelds for fire? Is that just Chief Sullivan?
That was just Chief Sullivan. So I
If you-
think that's for 70 and change Motorola portables for them.
I thought it was more on here. I thought it was 124.
Oh, that was for the portable, right? Yep.
The ask is 124,000, but I think that's for 70 portable radios. If I
Okay.
Yeah, if I remember when we talked to him, I asked what if he got half, and he said, I guess anything would be great, good. Am I remembering that conversation? Does anyone else remember him saying that?
Yep.
I don't remember, but that sounds right. I don't really.
Because they had four groups of 15,
Right.
and then the supervisors have about 12 or 15 radios between them. So if they could replace two groups, that would be better than replacing no groups.
Yeah, they're not out all the time. Not every radio is being used all at once. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, taking it into consideration, if we do pass the rest in November, we give them half now, and we give them half in November. Hopefully.
And what, make this 62,000?
Yeah, that gives us a good chunk back down towards $1 million. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, well, that brings us down to 1.152. So we have to include the wireless access points, right? Like, so we should just assume that 217,059 is going in here. Is that right?
You could even put that as,
Or 211? Did you 211,000?
Yeah, 211. So that brings it. Yeah, 211. The 211 is the number.
Todd, is that's right?
Yeah, we can do it for 211.
Yeah. So let me just get rid of this so it's not so confusing. So 1.1. So we got 152,000 left to get down to the million.
Todd, I don't know if this question's as you're going to get all this equipment for this amount of money. is it something that you install all at once, or is it ideally possible that you won't even get to installing half of it until 2021 anyways?
No,
Like
because
January, February?
they all run as one network.
Okay.
So it's all going to be installed in the summer.
Oh, okay. So you are going to install it all before, okay. I didn't
Yeah,
know.
it'll be the contractor installing it, but it has to be done through July and August.
Okay.
You
I
know,
think we have to leave it. I think we have to leave that in there then, guys.
we could move the cruisers to phase 2. That's
Yeah,
118,000 and just push the
Right.
cruisers to the fall.
That's only, yeah, it's really 6 months we're asking them to wait, that's all.
You know, I know there's a lead time on them, but they're not, I don't think they're desperate per their inventory. I know they like the
Right.
rotation, so we could keep the rotation and just be this order would be delayed. You know, come on the coattails of next year's request, but
What was
That
our
would be-
number? What was our number, Phil? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
sorry,
What was that number before?
118,000. Yeah, 118.
1,152,000.
That was after we cut them in half, right? The 60, the
That-
portable
That
radio.
includes the 62. Yeah,
So if we just give them one cruiser for now, that'll put us where?
59,000. Did you take out?
so it is a 59,000 a cruiser.
Yeah, that's one cruiser, but you know what? You're
That
right.
brings us
I
to
think that-
1,093,000.
All right, so we still have, all right.
Yeah, I think Phil's right. If you defer the two cruisers,
Yeah,
the other two, so we've already taken out one. Defer the other two to phase 2. The same argument holds. It's just a little bit bigger number.
well, I was thinking, Joe's has already graciously threw a bunch of stuff in operating, but I was thinking was it the compressor for 100,000? Take that out, and then if it fails, then there's a repair as opposed to a capital, but
Is that one that Joe talked to? Joe, was that the compressor was one of them?
they had asked for 2. Remember, they originally asked for 2 compressors for 2 different schools, and we gave them.
Oh, right. Yeah, right.
I don't know, Joe, do you think that that's a must? We need to get one of those compressors replaced
So
as soon as possible?
I guess the question is you're running with one. So you've been running with one for a little while and things have been okay. If for some reason it died, there is no redundancy in either one of those 2 schools. And both of the schools' HVAC systems were designed for it. There's a big unknown with it too. I mean, are you going to be able to even get into the school before they start? I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be such a backlog when the gates open on these guys and these contractors. It's going to be tough getting anyone scheduled right away.
Right.
My
So
guess.
maybe is that justification to pull that off for now, because it's probably not going to get done.
I mean, unless they have the documents ready to go out to bid now, probably not.
You know,
And again, you could, it comes right in the middle of their ranking criteria too. So, sticker shock is it subliminal messaging of some sort. I guess it would be however the group saw best to either fit that in or fit that out.
Everyone, I try to get away from leases, but if you want to put the school wireless on a lease, we could cut that by 2/3.
I think we could just, yeah, but the problem with that is that it extends into future years and takes away our buying power, like
Yep.
of how much money. So I almost would rather just take off all 3 cruisers for now, because it's not, I don't see the cruisers being an emergency need for that to be approved immediately. It's a big enough chunk that we could just approve it at the next meeting. You know, the wireless access points, paying that, I'd rather just I personally would rather not want to put that on a lease if possible and try to cut something else, but
No, I agree. I agree too.
Great.
If we pull that last cruiser off though, we still have some work to do, correct?
34, now we're down to 1,034,000.
Well, that's why I was, yeah. I
So
was
it
What if
doesn't-
you put,
the compressor.
what if you put the cruiser back in, because I like to give them one, and roll the dice on the compressor?
That's what I was thinking.
Because we could get it'd be great if a cruiser, 59, okay. Because then we could do an emergency repair if we had to too.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Eventually, everything's an emergency repair though.
I know.
There's your 993, brings you down to 993.
Oh, that doesn't look right to me.
Give the chief some more radios.
No. Hey, Steve,
Yes.
if it's all right with you, I'd like to treat that radio quote the same way we did the upgrade. I just want to review everything before,
Yes.
okay, before anything gets signed.
Right, absolutely.
So what do you think? HVAC compressor, 0?
Zero that out. And Steve, can we get up to 1 million, Steve? Can we add something back in?
Yeah, absolutely.
No. The Yule Windows final phase at 7,500 would get us right to 1 million. What else? High school stuff.
Little bit of water heater. That's it.
I know you said you wanted to do the water heater out of operating, but I could open up some of your operating money for other stuff.
You know what though?
I don't think it's a big deal though.
As long as Steve doesn't have a problem with us carrying the money, or actually, we could probably buy, obviously, we're going to wait till the end of the fiscal year to see how we're doing with, extraordinary things related to the COVID crisis. But if I have the ability I'm fronting the labor for that anyway. If I have the ability to buy that out of an account, it probably makes sense to do that before I close the books, and then it just saves it from this and we don't even have to bring it up. So I'm less concerned with that. I think for $7,000, it's probably manageable.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Todd, can't we throw the access points as COVID related and get 75% back from the feds?
That'd be nice, but I don't
Figure
think
that
so.
out?
Well, actually, you know what? On that point, the library's computer hardware, so the Chromebooks and different things like that,
Yeah.
you could add that back in. That's going to allow for a little bit more social distancing within the library, I would think. You're not at your stationary workstations.
Jeez. That's a good thought.
Yeah.
I'd argue that point.
That'd be a good one because it's their only ask too.
Yeah, because you're taking away the other stuff. The,
Right. Carpet.
Hey, Joe, the water bubblers,
Yep.
how soon are they going to be coming in with the grant?
That's an excellent question. As soon as they can give us the money. If we talk about something else, I might be able to find out right now.
I was just thinking if we threw our $5,000 back at water bubblers, I know they needed more than just a couple. If we gave, and I assume the plumber, this is something that plumbers would have time to do, as opposed to hiring out a contractor that you're not going to get this calendar year anyways, because they're going to be too busy.
No, that would be something that we would install anyway.
Well, that's what I mean. And assuming that Matt's not too busy because things are shut down. I don't know. I'm just trying to think outside the box.
No, that's good.
Give him something to put in, and it has time to do it. I don't know. He could be out straight right now. I don't know. I just assume that things kind of quieted down right now.
Yeah, so I guess the question is if there is some sort of normalcy that life semi-returns to, and the school department is comfortable with letting the DPW back into some of the schools, we have a short window where we have to do work anyway. We would be doing that in that time no matter what.
Okay. Now, I think something like the Yule windows, I assume that wouldn't be getting done anytime soon because that would be contracted out, correct?
Yes, we would rely on a contractor for that.
Yeah, so to throw the money at the old school windows probably for this, at this point, probably just throwing the money into space. I don't know, that's just my opinion. I don't know. I'm looking through the list. I don't know what else we could bump back up. What's your, I'm sorry, Phil, what's the number at the bottom with the,
Well, with the computer hardware in, it's at $1 million, but I don't know if that was just, I can zero that back out. So without that, we're at 993,560. And then someone had just mentioned the library computer hardware. Do we want to add that in?
No, I think that's fair.
You know,
Yeah, that's fair.
a true half of our original approval is 1,009,000. So I don't know if we're going for a true 50% or we're just looking for a number, like a 1 million number. So, because obviously 1 million were there.
Steve, is
Yeah,
that,
if you want to throw another, $9,000 or $10,000 thing in there, that's fine.
You know,
I mean, if it makes sense, but I don't know, is there anything on here that really is going to get done in the next 6 months? I don't see it.
well, one thing I would like to see, and I don't know, Joe, if you agree, is that at least the investigation on the front stairs to be done. You know, you don't want to be investigating in the middle of winter, I imagine, with the masonry or whatever. If you have to, is that a $10,000 that we would want to add back in to this because that's just investigations, right? That's not actually doing anything, or how do you feel about that?
So there was some question about what the material underneath actually is, and is that failing, causing the stairs to sink? We picked $10,000 as a number, figuring, what it would cost to send a crew out there 2.5 days to remove a couple of treads, fish
Right.
around a little bit, and then reset them. For that money, if there's something more pressing, so we're not going to do that over the summer. They have Plaza Jazz and all these other things going on. So we're not going to be disruptive to that point. It could be late fall after Halloween because they have some of the functions on the steps, either that or early spring. So if we would push that to phase 2, it would probably, I don't think it's nothing that's going to collapse and cause a crater. I'll put it that way. It's more of just kind of killing our curiosity as to why the stairs seem to be settling at some point.
What if you put in the senior center flooring?
Yeah.
Will that get done this summer, Joe?
Yep.
Sounds good. What do you
Yeah,
guys think?
there's your 10.
I thought it was just more seasonal, that your crew out there would rather be doing all that probably in the summer months rather than waiting the winter. So
Yeah, but I mean,
that was my thought.
understanding, I don't think anything we do this year is going to be at a normal time scale anyway. So.
No. Well, if you do add that in, you're at 1,010,000.
Tracy, what do you think? Everything look okay?
Yeah, how much were well, you just added the front stairs rather than the senior center flooring?
Senior center flooring, where's that?
It's in the building section.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I do not,
Third
yeah,
one
that's still showing phase 2. Or, yeah.
Yeah.
Do we want to add that in?
Do we want to
instead of
add that in instead of the library? I thought so.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay,
It's
sorry,
more
Mike.
critical.
There
When
we go.
does phase 2 spending start? What are the dates that we're talking about here for this?
If everything goes according to plan, phase 2 would be approved at the November town meeting.
November.
So I guess that's when, fleet would be purchased and the things like the steps at the library probably won't be till the spring, I would imagine, but
Okay.
who knows?
So it's $1,010,560.
You think
We've,
we can get that through, Steve?
I think so.
So added in senior center flooring for 10. Joe's taken out hot water heater, fridge operating, HVAC compressor we removed. And half the portable radios to 62. and then added back in miscellaneous hardware, computer hardware for library.
And we're down to one cruiser, correct?
And then, I'm sorry, and then one cruiser.
Can you go down at the bottom of the spreadsheet again?
Yep.
So we were at 1941, 119 to the left of that. Is that what's
Uh,
that figure?
Yeah, but that has, he took out the
These
crane
two,
isn't in that number.
Oh, right.
yeah.
Okay.
And,
Hot water heater in the fridge.
in the hot water in the fridge, yeah, so that took
Also,
out,
if you scroll down a little bit again to the bottom, you didn't have the radios and the,
I did over here in column H.
okay. I thought you would do it in column E as well.
Yeah, I can, I was just doing this sort of as a
I
run.
see.
I didn't,
Okay,
I didn't
yeah,
wanna
yeah,
mess,
I
I
understand.
didn't wanna mess this column up too much, but I'll send this out to Joe or whomever, Frank, and you guys can make the final formatting changes if you want.
Yeah, I mean, so when I was doing this in my notes, as I was talking to everybody, I put my prioritization F, the school department's data in G, and then what that sort of looked like in H as far as a funding level is concerned.
Got it.
So Frank, just to quell your curiosity, those water bubbles were supposed to be, the grant was supposed to be awarded to us June 1st, but it was delayed because of the COVID-19.
Okay.
So as soon as life or, business as usual can start to resume, we're expecting to be awarded 3.
Okay. But you don't know how long it would take to come in?
Not
Something that we'd order, you'd order yourself?
Yeah, we have in the past. So I don't think it's anything we're not talking a year here, maybe a week or two for it to show up.
Okay. That's right. I didn't know if we passed the budget and then July 1st, can you order a couple and then have them in before the school year starts? If we paid for some.
I think regardless, that could be accomplished.
In addition,
Oh, I
obviously,
see
in
what
addition to the granted ones. 'Cause
Oh.
and again, I was just throwing that out there. Now we have the front stairs at the, I'm sorry, we have the flooring at the senior center on there now. So that gets us back up over $1 million.
Yeah. This all column E, Tracy, has all the phase 1 and 2 in it. So if I update that, it sort of messes up. It's
No, I get it,
confusing.
yep.
Yeah, I started to do it. I realized what was happening though. So I think this is the number right here. So
Mhm.
I'm okay. I'm okay with all these changes.
Yeah, me too.
Dan, you got any problems?
Me too, no, that sounds fine.
All right, Steve, you want us just to approve this? Or?
If you can, that'd be great. I don't think it sounds fine. It sounds crappy, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, guys.
So I make a motion that we, can I make a motion?
Yeah,
That we accept the capital budget as, phase 1, as is. At, oh boy, I don't have the number.
I'll amend it to say as the changes we made, Dan, just in case our number's a little off for some reason. Does that make sense, Steve?
Yep, perfect.
Yeah, good, rather than say the number. Good.
Yeah, the additions and the subtractions we made.
Okay.
If you want
So
to say it again without me interrupting you.
Okay, I make a motion, we accept that we approve this budget, phase 1, with the adjustments that we have made, and that's it.
A second.
All in favor? Phil,
Aye, yes.
Tracy,
Yep.
Dan,
Aye, yes?
and Frank is a yes. David, are you out there yet? Okay, so 4-0 approved.
And guys, my hope is to bring all the phase 2 back in November. That's my hope, but we'll see what happens.
Steve, is the town meeting going to be virtual in June? How's that going to be?
We cannot be virtual in an open town meeting, so that is a
Wow.
challenge.
Okay,
Wow.
If we can't have a town meeting in June, we would run on a 1/12 budget, which I guess we could also do capital on a 1/12, but that's going to be an interesting dynamic with the state. But we're already talking about having it moving it to the field house or at Landrigan Field and moving it socially distancing if we have to. So
Yeah.
hopefully we'll be able to get it done between now and then. Hopefully things will ease up enough that we can have it done.
Put it in Landrigan Field, you'll be on television.
Yeah,
It'll make the news.
it will make the news, but I'm not so sure that's a good thing because some almost say
Oh.
it's not always good.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
So what I'll do is I'll clean this up and show what was voted on to be sent to town meeting warrant for phase 1. And then I'll send a redundant list of what's left over for phase 2. So as time goes on, we can think about what the finances might look like at that point in time.
Can you indicate on that list too, Joe, the stuff that you moved over to the operating budget, the couple of things there, just so it will remind us?
Yep, no problem.
So that means ideally, Steve, that when we go back in November, it'll even be less than what was already approved. So
Yeah,
if
maybe.
Joe was able to take some of those things
Right,
out.
exactly. And if not, who knows?
All right.
This is great. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Welcome. Okay.
Okay, great.
Motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks to everybody.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Frank, it was nice to see you too.
You too, everybody.
Yeah,
This is my
everyone.
first